Ke'Bryan Hayes is finally starting to live up to the hype after a hot week. Who is Mariners prospect Emerson Hancock? Join us today as we provide you with the best must-add players heading into Week 19 on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we are your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my partner in crime, my co-host, Matthew Ane. And you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you do those two things for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes to the channel, also gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly, it's that time of year when everyone's getting, all hyped up and excited about football. But you guys need to subscribe to us on the Subtext website. While everyone else is giving up, you stay locked on with us on Subtext, and when you get instant alerts for prospect call-ups, September's coming. Those, big name prospects might get a little cup of coffee, get them on your team before everyone else. Injury updates, and just much, much more than we could offer in this 30-minute podcast. And guys, real quick, today's episode is brought to you by the Gametime ticket purchasing app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets and the lowest price is always guaranteed. Locked On Fantasy Baseball fans, we have a fully loaded episode for you today. As always, let us be your team secret weapon as we provide you with the best must-add players for Week 19. And Matt, who do we got up first today, brother?
All right, we're going to talk about Mr. Ke'Bryan Hayes. My guy has had a wild week with 4 runs, 3 bombs, 10 ribs, and batting .381. Now, Hayes is like this guy that just pretty much gives you blue, family-friendly words.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, if you know, you know. And, I always want him to be good. He's like my guilty pleasure, right? But Ke'Bryan always does Ke'Bryan things where he, goes on a tear, does this, and then disappears for the rest of the season. It's like a short little window, and then it's just bye-bye. His numbers on the year are really not that impressive, and the Pirates actually have been good for a chunk of the season, and they look like they're, slowly inching back into, at least catch a little bit of a groove, nothing special. But when they perform, and they're beating decent teams. So for Hayes not to have the stats to follow what the team is trying to do tells me that Hayes isn't a real thing. So for real baseball prefaces, he's nothing to, scarf at. But for fantasy prefaces, right now he's really hot. Now, next week, he's most likely not going to do something like this. But in that cooling off phase, I'm still willing to take a shot on him. One, he has third base eligibility. So that's key, especially with Jose Ramirez out for the next 2 games because he just got a suspension today. So the appeal is gone. So it tells you that, hey, I could, at least get somewhat of decent average. He might be able to put up a run or 2, maybe a rip. Definitely don't see home runs in his future because he's not really a home run guy. I think his career high is what? It would be
career high in the
8.
bigs.
8 this year. So I don't foresee a home run this week if I was a betting man. But a run and a rib, maybe batting about 260 and killing you. You can pick him up just as a replacement for a short-term fix. And let's see if he can continue this hot streak. Great. But it sounds like right now he's having a career year, funny enough. But it is what it is with his career, with his yearly stats. I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time on him. It is what it is. Ke'Bryan Hayes is who he is, and just, ride it until it dies.
Yeah, man, it's a strong take on Ke'Bryan. I'm not far off. I believe in him maybe just a smidge more than you might, but we're pretty much on the same page. 26 years old. This kid just kind of been constantly, a flanges guy, as my brother Matt would say. This year he had back problems. Last year, back problems again. wrist issue in 21. He's just really been banged up for his whole major league career. Maybe he's starting to finally get healthy and he's hitting the stride a little bit at 48% owned for Ke'Bryan Hayes. Wow, that's a lot higher than I really thought he was owned at this point. I thought maybe he was a little bit of a sneakier ad than that. But 48% actually sounds kind of right. If you're struggling at third base, you need someone that offers, a little bit of speed, maybe a little bit of, hopefully that batting average could creep up a little bit. He was always a good batting average player in the minors. So, speed, maybe a little bit of runs, maybe a little bit of batting average. Maybe I'm being wishful thinking here with Hayes. But, 48% owned, third base eligible, Ke'Bryan Hayes. Maybe he's finally living up to the hype. Who knows? Maybe more of a next year type of guy with Ke'Bryan Hayes. But let's move on to somebody, that we've talked about before in this podcast, and I'm actually pretty big fan of, and it's Zach Gelof of the Oakland Athletics. And the thing with Gelof is, the batting average hasn't really started to, come around yet as much as I would have liked it to. But with Gelof here, he currently has 16 runs, 6 homers, 11 RBIs, 6 steals, 253 batting average, and 91 at-bats on the year so far. And I honestly think there's a lot of upside there. He was very, very good in the minors. He actually hit 2 home runs today as we're talking about it, went 4 for 5 on the day. So I really think, this is a guy you want to go out there and take a look at. He's got power. He's got speed, very good minor league track record. Only 25% owned on Yahoo at the moment. So with Gelof, honestly, like him over Hayes, he might be the number 1 bat in my eyes so far, this week. But honestly, I think out of everyone we're going to talk about, I think I do like Gelof the most. You should give him a chance on your fantasy teams. That's really all I got for Gelof.
Yeah, no, I like Gelof. I like to call him, G off because he's getting something right. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully he's getting something for us. But let's see what happens. I like the upside. Don't like the team. Don't like the home ballpark.
Yeah.
But the power might be real. So I mean, it is what it is. Let's find out what a career high in 2022 at 18 home runs. Let's see what happens. But let's move on. Let's talk about Mr. Josh Bell. Josh Bell came over from Cleveland to the Miami Marlins, like the ad. Way to go. Had a nice little week. 3 runs, 3 bombs, 5 ribs, 292 average. That's great. Even the last 2 weeks, 7 runs, 4 bombs, 8 ribs, 277. He's doing his thing there since he's gotten to the Miami this year with, 43 at bats, 10 games, honestly, with Miami Marlins. It's a nice little start there. I like it. Since he's been on the Miami Marlins, he's had the 308 batting average, putting up the numbers. I like it. Long-term value, there really isn't much, but I mean, it is what it is. We'll see how long it takes. Dom may disagree with his look on his face. I'm just not really a Josh Bell guy. You know what I'm saying? But first base, I'll take it this year. 40% owned. With Josh Bell, you're going to get what you're going to get with him. He can provide a lot of power if he's on this year. Looks like he may be with 15 home runs already. He had 17 last year, so he's on a better pace. So we'll see what happens. And that was through 552 at-bats. He's only at 386. So who knows? Maybe Josh Bell can, get himself up to 25 home runs, and that would be a nice start. But I could see the batting average plummeting from that point because on the year he's hitting about 241. So maybe he's selling out for power. We shall see. It's a little hard to get the ball over to the fence in Miami versus Cleveland. So it is what it is with Josh Bell.
Yeah, Matt, that's a perfect take. I'm just going to add my 2 cents here is that, he's good for a little bit of power. He's hitting second in that lineup. Not a great lineup, but Jazz is back, so it's a little bit, juicier than it normally is. 40% owned for Josh Bell. You could definitely do worse. One thing that I might disagree, Matt, on is the batting average. Josh Bell's a career 260 hitter. So I think there actually might be a little bit of room for improvement. So this might be that hot streak that Bell gets, towards his career norms with. But you know what? Go and add Josh Bell. You're not a bad ad at 40% owned. But before I move on here, guys, have a great sponsor to talk to you about, and it's Gametime. Have you ever tried to buy tickets to see your favorite artist or sports team and wound up being stressed out by how much of a hassle it can be? Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. That's why you need to check out the Gametime app. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Using the Gametime app is super rewarding with flash deals and last-minute tickets. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images and views of the seats you'll be sitting in. Lowest price guarantee and event cancellation protection. I mean, there's a reason why it's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets and the lowest price is always guaranteed. And dear everydayers and new listeners, we have an incredible opportunity for you to support the show and enjoy some fantastic perks along the way. Introducing our Diamond Club on the Subtext website. By becoming a member, you not only contribute to the show's success, but also gain access to exclusive benefits. You get your hands-on waiver wire rankings, call-up alerts, injury updates, instant reactions, and enjoy direct access to us for all of your burning fantasy baseball questions. Plus, you can try it out completely free for 14 days. Your support means the world to Matt and I, and we can't wait to connect with you on this exciting journey. Join us on the Diamond Club on the Subtext website today and let us take your fantasy baseball experience to new heights. And guys, I've been saying it and we're getting really close now. If you already subscribe to us on Subtext or you subscribe before September 1st, you go into a lottery and a drawing to get a shot at joining us in our listener league for next year. Come and play with the pros, show us what you got. You can throw a beat in Matt and I's way if you think you can. And it's just a really fun opportunity. We're going to have a lot of, we're going to have like a prize for, whoever comes to first place and just a lot of fun trash talk, to come play with us. And it's going to be great. But Matt, as always, a lot of talking from you, brother. You want to grab this next guy?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on here. Let's talk about Mitch Garver. Now, Mitch Garver is an interesting one. He had a really great week. I think this is the last week that he flat out is relevant. Jonah Hyman got I don't know why I said Hyman. Got activated today, which is Sunday for us, Monday for you guys, so yesterday for you. So Garver's about to lose all relevancy, but I think they might, give Hyman a few days rest this week where Garver's going to be able to slide in and kind of get a little break. So you might be able to get a little bit of this hot tail that Garver's had, because this week is pretty nice, especially out of the catcher's position, right? 2 runs, a bomb, 7 ribs, batting .348. So even if Garver gets a little spot start and you could supplement him in for the days that I think Heim is going to get the breaks this week, it'll be nice to at least have his counterpart that's going to play in his place, with Garver being, fantasy relevant this week. But after this week, I think he's a burn and turn pretty much. So he's a 15% owned. So if you have Heim and you think, okay, like, shoot, I don't want to have a guy that's probably going to have 2 days of rest this week on top of having an off day, let me pick up Garver to play in his place this week. But other than that, after this week, bye Garver.
See, man, that's where I disagree with you. I think Garver's just gonna. I think his value is gonna go up. I think he's just gonna DH for them. They lost Josh Young. They don't really have anyone else that really fits that DH mold. I think Garver may see 1 or 2 days a week off just because he's a little bit older and he's been injured for most of his career. But they don't really have anyone else that really fits that DH spot. So I think Garver's just going to take it over, and I think it's going to be easier for him. He's not going to, get that injury. He's not going to have as much chance to get hurt. He's got a lot of power in that bat. He's hitting in one of the best lineups in all of baseball. His lineup spot might move down because it looks like he's been hitting 5th pretty consistently of late. So he might move down a little bit in that lineup, but I still think it's great for, Mitch Garver, 15% owned. You can, a guy that's playing DH pretty often at your catcher spot. I think you're going to make out big there. He's plus batting average so far in the year, 282, plus homers. Guy hits lights out with power at 30 RBIs to 156 at-bats. I think Mitch Garver is a sneaky good ad, and, you catch some people lacking with that one.
Go ahead, I like that. I like that because I just looked up the depth chart and where they're going to have him slotted in. So he's going to be hitting 5, so I actually didn't think of that. I forgot about the Young injury. I just figured they would have replaced him for somebody more consistent, giving him the opportunity to take rest days, being that he is injury prone and they do need him at the catcher position still. Yeah. And I figured they would have done it, especially with Heim being injury prone so far. And coming off the injury, but who knows? This would be great if they slot him in at 5. We shall see what happens, but go ahead, move on.
Yeah. I mean, that's really it on Garver. Like I said, I truly think they don't have anybody else at this point unless they, call one of these young guns up. They have a few pretty
Carter.
good young bats. Yeah, Evan Carter and other guys might get that September call up. But guys, until then, just ride out Mitch Garver. What's the worst case scenario? That you have to drop him because he's not playing consistently anymore. But you know what? While he's in there, the guy's been on fire this year. A little comeback season for Mitch Garver after dealing with injuries. The past like three years in a row. So you know what? Get him in your lineups for now. Let's move on to another guy that's just, oh my God, I feel like he's been the biggest tease of the fantasy baseball season this year, and it's Spencer Torkelson. The guy he gets red hot for like 3 or 4 games. He makes you want to believe again, former top prospect, and it was a top 5 prospect a few years back. And then he just goes cold for 5 games, and it's just been on and off, on and off. On August 12th, he went 4 for 4 with a homer. On August 9th, he went 2 for 4 with 3 runs, 2 homers, 2 RBIs. On August 6th, he went 2 for 3 with 2 runs. And in between all of those games, 0 for 4, 0 for 4, 0 for 3, 0 for 3, and then 0 for 3 today with a run and an RBI. I mean, in deeper leagues, he's still Torkelson's 26% owned. So, I guess it's kind of late in the season at this point, but if you're still trying to replace Pasquantino, or, your first bases has just been abysmal in one of those like 15-man leagues, Torkelson's only 26% owned. He's providing you pop. He's got 18 homers on the year through 436 games. He got 62 RBIs. He's got 57 runs, which isn't horrible on that Tigers team. He's been hitting, 4th, 5th. So, and even 3rd on occasion too, it looks like. So a guy that's hitting on the top of the lineup that's got power, you really can't go too wrong with him, but he's definitely not going to help you in batting average as he's hitting 229 on the year. This is a guy next year that I kind of want to see how things turn out for him. Of course, with Torkelson, how many years he's been in the league at this point. I think this is his 2nd full year, if I remember correctly.
I'll tell you in a second.
How many games did he get in last year? He got 110 games in last year, so that's not really like, nothing.
2 years in the majors.
Yeah. There's nothing to shake your head at with 110 last year, 115 so far this year. At 23 this year, 24 next year. It's not make or break time yet, but it's going to be interesting to see how Torkelson ends up next year.
I like that take, Dom. Especially for that next year flow. Like, quite honestly, so Torkelson, prior to what I can see here in the minors, my guy just could hit like 260, 270 if really put his mind to it.
He figures it out.
Yeah, if he figures it out. Now, here's the thing. Like, Torkelson may be like a this year play for like the short term, but like if you're in a keeper league, he may be somebody you want to add because he may be one of our breakout picks for next year that we're talking about. One of the guys we could see taking that next step, that 3rd year in the bigs, like Wander Franco, like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., like other players when they reach year 3 as a batter that was a high-end top prospect that just, it took a little bit of time. Torque could maybe turn the torque up and, step on the gas and go off next year. So I like where Torkelson's upside could be for next year. So he's possibly an ad. But, let's move on. Let's talk about Mr. Ranger Suarez. Ranger Suarez, it's weird. I like Ranger. He came into this year hurt, has been back, hasn't been too impressive at all, honestly. Some of his starts are like, wow, look at him. And then, the other starts are just like, oh my God, he's getting blown up again. But, over his last 3 starts, he's been very, very serviceable. Minnesota, Washington, Miami, these aren't like wonderful teams. I mean, Minnesota's leading their division right now. Don't get me wrong. 8K is a 2.84 ERA through 6, but a high whip at 1.42. But Washington, they're Washington. It is what it is. And then Miami, again, is what it is. But here's the thing about Ranger Suarez. Once he starts getting moving and grooving, I think that Ranger Suarez should be and can be very fantasy relevant for you. Right now he has a 3.96 ERA, but he's a career 3.30 ERA. He knows how to suppress runs. He's very serviceable. His FIP is not too off from his ERA, which is fielding independent pitching, which is a predictive stat. But I think that's going to come down. He's going to start returning to the mean. He has a bunch of games that are going to be more fantasy relevant, especially as we head into the playoff season, where the season pretty much gets to reset in about 3 weeks, and it's just everybody's fighting for their life to go get that championship. So Ranger Suarez right now, I think, has a lot of juicy matchups coming up too, because quite honestly, actually, it's funny. So you look at schedules, right? And you're like, oh my God, like everybody had such tough seasons. tough schedules coming up, or really, juicy, easy schedules, going into the season. And whereas the Phillies, I believe, had a much harder schedule to start the season for the whole first half, but come the rest of August and September, it's actually really nice. So they have the Blue Jays, they have the Nationals, they have the Giants, the Cardinals, the Angels, right? And that's the rest of August. September, because there's going to be some division games, don't get me wrong. But the Brewers have been like, okay. Padres have been like, I don't know if they decide to play or not. If they decide to just give up, like, who knows? They're not like a matchup I'm afraid to roll a pitcher out against. The Marlins, who, if they're going to be out of the wild card race by then, this is in September, the playoff weeks. I kind of would roll him out against that. And plus, I mean, if Josh Chisholm is hurt, I'm really not scared. Which likelihood of that is his flange is given out on him, absolutely. And then, I mean, the only really tough matchup I see is the Braves, and that's during the during the second week of the playoffs. But the championship week is the Cardinals. So I really do like what it is. My phone is not playing nice. So long story short, Ranger Suarez actually has a little bit of longevity in terms of how far I'm willing to roll him out. And he actually may be a future play that could be very beneficial during the playoff week. But that's enough on Ranger Suarez. I know I went off on him on somebody that I probably shouldn't have went 3 minutes on. And before we move on to finish up the rest of these names and these pitchers, and we're talking about a Baltimore pitcher and another pitcher that's been on the IR for a bit, and a prospect that just got called up, we have a break for you, and just give us a moment. We'll be right back. All right, and we're back. All right, Dom, I did a lot of talking. Go ahead for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to add on Ranger Suarez besides Matt. Great take, and it's a matchup play for me with Ranger Suarez. I'm not throwing him out there reliably against anybody, but his next two matchups, as you were kind of saying, are the Nationals and the Cardinals. I'll throw him out there against both of those. If he gets rocked on both of those, then all right, see you next Tuesday. After that, if he's good, then you ride the wave with Ranger Suarez. He finished out the year 2 years ago very, very strong. He has the capability of doing that. So, at 34% owned for Suarez, he probably do a lot worse at the time. Let's move on to somebody else that I'm surprised is still this lowly, owned, and it's Grayson Rodriguez. I feel like we talked about Grayson before he got the call, when he got the call. He's only 53% owned. I figured he'd be up around like 70 at this point, but maybe people see the year-long numbers and they're a little bit scared away. But Grayson Rodriguez, last 4 starts, he's been pretty good. The results have been great at 2 wins, 2 losses, but the pitching results have been pretty good. 2.66 ERA, 2.71 FIP. Batters are hitting 175 against him. 23 innings, 20 strikeouts. Right on a 0.99 WHIP. He's just been pretty good, and he's done it against some pretty decent teams. Tampa has slowed down, but he pitched against Tampa. He pitched against Toronto. He pitched against the Yankees. He pitched against Houston in the last one. He was pretty good. He hasn't been great, but he's been good. And these are like stepping stones. This kid can go out the rest of the year and just finish out the year like one big 11, 10 strikeout game. And, then that mindset is back. Okay, this guy is – there's a reason he was the number 1 pitching prospect for the last couple of years. He gets San Diego on the 14th. I'm throwing him out there in that one. San Diego, as Matt mentioned earlier, has been just a kind of mediocre team this year, hasn't been really great, so I think that's a matchup that Grayson will be pretty decent in. So with Grayson, he's got to get up there, man. He should be at least, at my eyes, like 70, 75% owned.
No, I love Grayson. I love his upside. Why does my phone hate me? But anyway, Grayson has a lot of upside just in general. The kid's great, but let's move on here. Because I'm going to talk about pretty much another Baltimore pitcher here, and that's John Means coming off the TJ. Is going to need multiple rehab starts before he actually makes it back to the roster in the rotation. But here's the thing, and this is going to be the same aspect of Grayson Rodriguez. See, we're about 3 weeks out from the playoffs, so I'm going to start thinking about down the line of future, right? Who can I add to my team that's not only going to be good for now, but who I can add that's going to be beneficial during those playoff weeks, right? So here's their schedule for September, and the schedule is actually decent. So September alone, Diamondbacks to start the month. That's going to be a little rough. But then you got the Angels, which really don't scare me outside of Ohtani, unless Trout's back. But even then, he's still going to be a little rusty. You got the Red Sox, who aren't scaring anybody anymore. The Cardinals, the Rays, who have completely fallen off a cliff. And then by the time you're even caring, you got Astros for a short period. it is what it is. And the Cleveland Guardians, who really got nobody besides Jose Ramirez. And then the Washington Nationals and the Red Sox. Like, these are great schedules that, John Means is going to walk into and be successful. They're setting him up for success and trying to make that playoff push. So they're going to want to roll him out there to get some strength going into the playoffs for themselves. So John Means is going to have the opportunity and probably a little bit of a long leash. So I like the fact of where he can be and what kind of fantasy value he has for when he comes back. He's more of a stash guy, but I like what he's going to bring for you during the playoffs.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Means. He's already had one of those, multiple rehab outings that he needs. Pitched 2 innings, gave up 1 hit, struck out 2. So, looks pretty good his first time out there. Obviously, he needs to build up to about, 5 innings minimum. I'd say 60, 70 pitches, before he winds up getting that call back. But I think Baltimore wants him back in that lineup. John Means, showed us all what his, upside is back in 2021, where he had 26 starts, a 3.62 ERA, 146 innings, 134 strikeouts with a 1.03 whip. So John Means, has a lot of upside. I think you kind of just, then now is the time to stash. Now at 9% owned, once they announce that he's going to come back, if people remember who this guy is and what he did, that 9% is going to jump all the way up to 30, 40%. And in those leagues where you really need him, stash him now. Now let's move on. Let's talk about Emerson Hancock. Emerson Hancock was somebody that got the call. I didn't really think that they were going to give him the call, but he's a big baseball boy at 6'4", 213 pounds. He wasn't really dominating in the minors this year at all. He had 11 wins, 5 losses, but that really wasn't due to how good he was pitching because he had a 4.32 ERA across 20 starts, 98 innings, 107 strikeouts, and a 1.23 whip. This is a guy at 24 years old, Emerson Hancock, that I think needs a little bit more fine-tuning down in the minors before, he's officially a full-time member of this rotation. But I guess see where the thing goes. He looked good in his first start, went 5 innings, got 3 strikeouts, gave up a run, had a 1 whip. He goes up against KC on the 15th. I'll throw him out in that matchup. KC's been a little bit better of late, but they're 4-6 in their last 10. If he can navigate around Witt and MJ, and Salvador Perez had a decent week with a couple of good games. But other than that, and Garcia, I think Garcia got hurt today too, but Garcia's been pretty good. If he can work his way around those guys, should be a decent start. On the whole, Kansas City hasn't really been good against righties on the year. So Emerson Hancock, somebody you could throw out there, I think, this week and just ride the wave at 11% owned.
I don't really feel comfortable rolling anybody out against Kansas City right now. They're very volatile. So, for me, not a fan of Hancock to begin with. I could see why it could be something of a draw, but for me, I'm not really feeling it right now. He's definitely a speculative ad. I'd rather add him, let him have a really good game on my bench versus blowing up my lineup, and then kind of seeing what the next matchup looks like. But right now, as we're trying to either fight for a playoff spot or maintain first, or trying to take first place to get the bye or second to get a bye, Emerson Hancock is not somebody I'm willing to roll out against Kansas City, for instance. He'll be in more of a matchup base, but he's definitely worth a speculative ad, even though I don't really feel all that comfortable with him. Let's move on. Let's get this last guy out of the way, and let's call it a day here. Let's talk about Jose Quintana. He has been really great the last couple starts. Atlanta held him down, 4 Ks, 6 innings, a 1.5 ERA, with a .117 whip. Then Baltimore, another great team, 6 Ks, 6 innings, 3 ERA with a 1.33 whip, a little high, but whatever. Kansas City hit him around a little bit. Speaking of the devil, 4 ERA through 6.5 innings, a 1.2 whip. He's been serviceable. Even the Yankees, he was able to handle a little bit. 5 Ks, 6 innings, 3 ERA. Quintana's been good. He's going up against St. Louis on his next start on Thursday. So, Quintana, I think I can roll him out against them. They really haven't shown me anything other than Goldie. And if, Jonathan Walker can wake up, which right now, this is where I'm at.
Walker?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Said Jonathan.
Oh, God. Which one of the things? Sorry, guys. I was drinking a little bit today. I'm coming down. But Jordan Walker, I feel like if he can wake up, he'll be special, but I don't foresee that anytime soon. It may be a little bit longer before he gets it going. So Quintana, I feel very comfortable rolling out and, producing for my team. So that's Jose Quintana.
Yeah, Matt, good take on Quintana. Quintana's a guy that, is pretty solid in suppressing runs. He, is not really a K guy either. But, he's not really a K or a whip guy either. But you know what? The Mets are decent. Nah, actually not a decent team. That place. I can't even say Yankees suck too. It's New York teams have not been good on the year. But I think at least Quintana can suppress runs. He's, probably low man on the totem, out of all the guys that we've talked about today. But, gets a little revenge game against St. Louis. I think it'll be a decent start for him. Kind of like Hancock. I play the matchups, ride the wave with Quintana. On the year, 3.03 ERA, 1.28 whip, 29 innings, 20 Ks. Just kind of see what thing goes. He's 16% owned on Yahoo, and that's really about it. But, Matt, unless you got anything else for the fans, I think we'll call it a day. So, guys, that is all for us today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Also, shout out to our everyday new listeners making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. We'll be back tomorrow. I think we're doing stashes for your IL and your watch list. So, until then, guys, see you.
Peace.